Definition of a must win. Let's get the home, bro.
Please, let's
get the
It got real cold in Detroit. It got real cold in Detroit.
Yeah, bro.
The streak is over. Hawks snapped their losing streak tonight in Detroit, beating Detroit 132 to 130. Trae Young hits the game winner. Trae Young comes up big once again, a game that was needed, one of his most efficient games this year as well. Comes up with a big 34 points, like I said, including the game winner, to put the Hawks over the top against Detroit and win the ball game. Full breakdown of that game tonight on Believe in Hawks. Also, we're going to get into some of the trade rumors that have been recently put out there about Bogey, Clint, things of that nature. And then also, I will mention the Luka Doncic trade and why the Hawks won that trade. We're going to talk about all that tonight on Believe in Hawks, man. I appreciate you tuning in for another episode. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to the channel for sure for more Believe in Hawks content. Like the video, leave comments down below about anything we discuss. Obviously, audio listeners do the same thing. Leave a rating, leave a review. Let's help get the podcast up the charts and let more people be aware of Believe in Hawks. Like I said, I appreciate you guys. Let it be part of your day, and let's go ahead and dive right into it. Hawks, like I said, get a good win tonight, 132 to 130. Obviously, this is something the team desperately needed. They needed this win bad. I mean, you have these long losing streaks. It just feels like everything is going wrong. Jalen missing the entire year. Bogey and Clint looking like they're done in Atlanta, not playing right now. Just everything that's happening. You're losing. It's just not great vibes. And, you're just looking for some type of positivity. You're looking for something. And the best thing you could do is win to get through it. And especially for this team, this version of the Hawks right now, because they haven't won since Bogey stopped playing and Clint stopped playing and Jalen stopped playing. So this version of the Hawks haven't experienced a win in a while. The Hawks have not won a game since January 18th. That was the day before my birthday. That was the last time the Hawks won a basketball game. So it's been a good minute before you've experienced winning. And so the Hawks can now say, we won a game since all that's happened. I mean, like I said, great performances tonight from Dyson Daniels. He was huge tonight. Obviously, Trae Young. DeAndre Hunter inserted into the starting lineup tonight. He had a good game. Straight buckets, nothing else. Man only had points. Look at his stat line. Nothing else but points, man. He was just straight buckets. That's what I'm giving you tonight. 20, and that's it. Kongwu, good game tonight. Rishi Shea, I'll talk about him. He's continuing to come along, playing really well in these last three games. They got what they needed from the important players tonight. And Vic Krejci was big off the bench, 13 from him. Nance finally gave them something tonight, a double-double tonight, 12 and 10. Just they needed that from guys like that. And like I said, they were able to get a win over Detroit, a team that you feel like first game, you made the comeback, could have won at the end, you could have got a stop. Second game, you couldn't hit threes in Atlanta. So you feel like in both of those games, those were winnable games if certain things went your way. And now to get over the hump, like I said, on the road, feels like the Hawks have been on the road for so long, barely playing in Phillips at State Farm Arena. And like I said, important for them to get that win tonight, man. So Hawks tonight, some key stats. They shot 52% from the field, 43% from three. Obviously, during this losing streak, the Hawks have shot the ball terribly from three. And so to have a game like this where you're shooting 43% was huge. Hawks also have taken the most free throws I think they've taken since opening night. 39 attempts tonight, shooting 82% from the line. Now, this was a very weirdly officiated game. Both teams got a lot of foul shots. Detroit got 38 of them. But Hawks were able to get some, obviously, take advantage of those free throws at the free throw line. 12 turnovers tonight, also a big part of losing streak. High turnovers, only 12 tonight. They were able to make Detroit turn the ball over 14 times. 27 assists, more close to the range they want to be as an offense. Detroit won on the boards tonight, but the Hawks were able to overcome that. Hawks had 7 blocks tonight. 7 blocks tonight. So obviously they were very effective. Dyson Daniels had 3 of those blocks. Obviously, again, he has been huge. I'm going to talk about the growth of his game, especially offensively, just the aggressiveness that he played with in this game. I really like that because that's what they needed. Dyson's offensive profile clearly will revolve around his ability to attack the rim in his floater. And then being able to expand off of that will be his tunnel to being a good offensive player. That's why you hear people compare him to like a Derek White. Remember, Derek White went into the game, wasn't the greatest offensively. He could do some stuff offensively. I mean, I remember he had a big game in the playoffs for the Spurs. I think he had 30 in a game. But Dyson is a guy who, if he can get that offensive game up, he really could become a really, really good player. And some people think he can become a star player. So, because you can just see the impact he has on games like this. Okongwu had two blocks as well. So that's 5 in your starting lineup right there. So really good stuff from the Hawks, like I said, against a game Detroit team that's improved a lot. Cade Cunningham is the truth. He's one of the best young players in the game. You know, they have a really young team, really well coached. Learning how to win, obviously, is the biggest thing for them this year. But you see the talent. Michael Beasley, he's been great for them. Tobias Harris has been good for them. I mean, Duren was very impactful tonight for the Pistons, gave the Hawks fits tonight, but they were able to overcome Duren. And like I said, a gutsy game. It was a gutsy game the Hawks had to win, and they were able to get it. Like I said, based off the Trae Young game winner, stepping over the defender, AI style. Trae Young, a showman, always a showman. And so really, really good win for the team tonight overall. And like I said, just important for him to get this win. That's the number one thing for this team right now. And the Hawks are only 2.5 games away from the 6th seed. So for all this panic, the season's over, we're cooked, we're done. The Hawks are only 2.5 games from being the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. This season is nowhere close to being over. As much as y'all want it to be over based off what you just saw, it's nowhere close to being over. The key right now is if the Hawks truly are going to make moves at the deadline, what do they get back in those moves? We're hearing reports of Paul George apparently is popping up. And, obviously, KD apparently may be available. And, you're hearing just all types of different things. And, you hear Miami may be interested, San Antonio. I don't know if they still are after the trade with De'Aaron Fox, but a lot of stuff's been flown out there for the Hawks. And clearly, this is the first time that I felt like Landry, it seems like, is trying to be aggressive here with the team. And because the last couple of seasons, they've just let it play out. Now it feels like they're trying to make a move here, trying to savage the season because they're like, with our positioning and where we are, we have some players that we think we can just get the right guys to come in. We may still be able to get this team where we want it to go, which is into the postseason. I'm assuming now this is telling me they want to try to be a postseason team. And they just have to, like I said, make the right moves. So that's obviously something that we're going to be keeping an eye on. Obviously, I will be keeping an eye on any rumors that we get about that, which I'll dive more into the trade rumors in general later in the show. But, for the Hawks right now, you have, obviously, like I said, a tough schedule. It's not easy. I mean, like I said, it's big to get a win tonight, but you still have some tough teams coming up. You play the Spurs, primetime game with ESPN. Spurs are 4 games under 500, but, De'Aaron Fox will make his debut in that game against the Hawks. So that'll be an interesting matchup. Then they play the Bucks. Obviously, a team they usually try to play tough. You got the Wizards and the Magic, who are kind of slumping. You got your Knicks, who you play tough. Magic again, Detroit again, right? Next week or so, next week and a half, going into the end, closer to the end of the month. So, overall, man, Hawks got big performances tonight from the guys they needed. Let's start with Trae. Trae Young, he got the All-Star snub, and people were upset, right? Trae, after I believe the last game, talked about just the snub and, being disrespected and things like that. Coming out in this game, especially even in the Indiana game last game, I mean, he had 2 big games. And right now, where the Hawks are as a roster, they kind of need that old Trae Young. We need the 30 points a game. We need you to carry our offense. I mean, the Hawks, the Trae Young in the fourth quarter was huge. He scored literally let me check to make sure. Yeah, so he scored half of the team's points in the fourth quarter. Like he was very big for the Hawks to win this game. And like I said, right now the Hawks are in a position where until they get some more offensive reinforcements, and especially if they can help shore up the defense a little bit more, because that's obviously been the big concern. You've let up a lot of points the last couple of games. Trae Young has to be the driving offensive force, and then everybody just comes, right? You need Hunter to be good. Dyson needs to continue to be aggressive. You need that bench support. Guys from Nance, Krejci. You need that offensive support because you need people who can help carry the load and not put all of it on Trae's shoulders. So for me right now with this team, we understand where they are. And I think we'll obviously know what this team will look like by Thursday. But right now the Hawks are needing what they can get from Trae. And, he's been playing through a lot of injuries. I know Kunin was on 92.9 a game and said Trae's been playing through the Achilles, playing through the hamstring. This is something we've known. Trae's been playing through a bunch of stuff this year. And so overall, I think that we clearly know that sometimes Trae doesn't maybe have it a game, or maybe he's trying to defer more in a certain game because of it. But overall, I think, he understands what is needed from him right now, and he has to give this team a chance. So big for him to do that. And obviously his backcourt mate, Dyson Daniels, he's been huge. I mean, Dyson, the one thing that makes Dyson special to me is his ability to impact the game without scoring. Like, I know we sometimes talk about we want more offensively from him, and I thought he gave us that. But his ability just to impact the game with his deflections, with his steals, with his blocks, with his effort, it's so big for this Hawks team because they haven't had a player like this in a long time. And this is why a lot of people think Dyson will become a first-team All-NBA guy, because his impact in just doing different things. I mean, Dyson has been doing everything these last few games. He's been defending. He's been trying to help with passing, obviously, as the de facto backup point guard. He has been instrumental in rebounding. Dyson has been hitting the boards with the big, obviously understanding, listen, we don't have that type of size right now with Clint out. Dyson has upped his rebounding. I mean, he has done everything in this game, in these games for the Hawks to try to give them a shot. I mean, tonight I was just truly impressed with how he attacked the rim. He would put his head down against Beasley and other guys and just go after him. Because I think one thing an advantage Dyson has is Dyson's like 6'7", right? 6'6", 6'7". And so, some of the guys he plays against are like 6'4", 6'3", and 6'5" at times, especially when, like I said, when he's playing point guard. And so what happens is it puts him in position where now he's looking at this guy and saying, I'm bigger than him. I'm stronger than him. Let me attack. And then that's where Dyson kind of becomes more offensively aggressive. And I've said, especially when he plays from that point guardish role, he becomes more aggressive. And tonight you saw even from the 2-guard spot, he was aggressive. So like there was some plays where, he get the ball at the corner and then just go attack. And then it led to the creation of other things in the offense because Dyson is crashing down, getting past his man. So now Detroit has to crash down, and then Dyson has the passing ability to get it back out if he needs to, whether that is to trade in the corner, Krejci at the top, whoever can get in his line of sight where he can make that pass. So, for me, I think Dyson just continues to be extremely impressive, and why he will probably be a cornerstone player for the Hawks for years to come because of those things. So, I think Dyson continues to just be really impressive for them. And like I said, in a game like tonight, you feel his impact. You feel the impact of what he brought to the table, and you really just are just very, very thankful they were able to acquire him in that DeJounte Murray trade, because he is someone you could see being a Hawk for a very long time and being a very impactful Hawk at the same time. Now on to Zachary Richiche. Richiche has been great last 3 games. I mean, he has been fantastic. He, The thing with Rishi was he plays the game the right way. He does what coaches want him to do. It's just his shot was very inconsistent and a lot of nights wasn't falling. And so obviously that was the frustrating part for him. And as you're watching him, because like the thing is, some people, if you weren't excited about the pick, you're going to crap on the pick every time he plays bad because that's your narrative. You don't like him as a selection, right? But if you actually are a ball knower and you're just watching the game and just want to see his growth as a player, you see what Rishi brings to the table. I said in that Cleveland game that the way he played that game, how he attacked, the finishing, the shooting, that's what the Hawks think he can be. Which, I mean, you're telling me Rishi can have moments where he maybe scores 10, 12 in a row? Can't be bad about it. Can't be upset about it. You're going to be happy about it. And to see him, even though he hasn't had the same offensive explosion, the last couple of games have been kind of similar. Indiana, kind of slow start offensively, really picked it up in the second half. Tonight, kind of started slow offensively, picked it up in the second half. This was a game where I believe, and some people said this too, that he probably should have ended the game over Vic Krejci, in my opinion. But Zach, just you're seeing him figuring it out. You're seeing him finding some type of consistency, which I think is the biggest thing that they want, is to find consistency. And if he can continue to play this way, especially without Jalen Johnson, because more is now asked of him with the absence of Jalen, this will be big for them. If Rishi can just continue on the upward trend, then when you get into next year, again, I've basically said the Hawks starting lineup is here already for next year. Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, Rishi, Jalen Johnson, Yeka Kongu. That's who you can be. Unless they make some crazy trade, that's going to be your starting five next year. The big question is going to be who's the bench? Who will be the bench team next year, right? And you could see offensive progressions from Dyson Daniels, Zachary Rishi, and then that gives you five guys who maybe you could feel confident on the attempt on a game-to-game basis can at least score 10. I like to put the minimum at 10. That you know we can probably get 10 at least from all of them. Then you get maybe 25 from Trae, get close to 20 from Jalen. Yucca gives you about 13. If Zach can even get around 14 to 15, that's big. Same thing with Dyson. Because that may be the next step for them. But Zach's been really impressive, so I definitely want to give him his flowers. Obviously, we know by his impact defensively, his ability to be active, chase after loose balls, and just, be a good defender at the point of attack and really help the Hawks defense. So he's been big tonight, and etc. So just wanted to touch on those guys. Obviously, like I said, Krejci had a good game tonight. Really needed that. Larry Nance had a good game tonight. Really needed that. Hunter gives you 20 points. Inserted to the starting lineup. Quinn clearly just said, I'm going to put all my chips on the table with the starters, and we'll see what it looks like. They got to win. So this may be what they go with moving forward. Like I said, we'll have to see what happens after the trade deadline if anything changes, right? So let me go into the Luka stuff before I go into the trade stuff. Because obviously we know about the blockbuster trade that happened a couple of days ago. Over the weekend, Saturday night, Sunday morning, wherever you were. Luka Doncic traded to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis, right? We're going to focus on those two. And a lot of people were tweeting out, and I even said it, that the Hawks won the trade. So some people may want to ask that question of, well, why is that the perception? And before we really even touch on that, I just want to give my thoughts on that trade. I was shocked, like a lot of you probably were when you saw that. And a lot of people were asking the question of why. Why would you trade your franchise player who just got you to the finals the year before? What are we doing? It's kind of like it's like a higher degree of shockingness, like the Karl Anthony Towns trade, where you're like, this man just got you to the Western Conference Finals and you trade him. when I've heard everything Nico Harrison has said and everything, and I know Dallas fans are not happy right now. It's a weird situation because it really doesn't change your title outlook, I feel like, this year if you're the Mavs. You just are more like, we had our franchise guy, and now we have short-term franchise guys, right? But from everything I've heard, and from everything I've gained, I think that Nico, since he was the driving force, since he did not collab with anybody, he just said, we're moving Luka. He just said one day, I'm going to move Luka Doncic. Like, and I think that's what's so shocking is that he randomly just said, we're moving Luka. And he knew in his head who he wanted to trade him to, which is interesting. There's a lot of people were saying after the announcement, why wouldn't Dallas want a bidding war where you can get more picks and get more stuff for Luka? Like, why? Apparently, Nico did not want it to get public because he knew there would be fan backlash, and sometimes that backlash and that pushback might change a trade or change or deter the Mavericks from making the move, right? He clearly just said, I don't believe we can win a championship with Luka Doncic. That's as simple as it gets. And you may think we just made it to the finals with him. I don't get it. He basically said, with his lack of work ethic at times, conditioning, and defense, I think that will hold. He basically assumes that will hold Dallas back. Because at the end of the day, Luka, we've seen on the biggest stage him play atrocious defense. And we've seen him be overweight. And we've seen him, obviously, with injuries. You're starting to wonder, will injuries start piling up for him? And he's a guy who's also played a lot of basketball, playing over the summer. And so you wonder a little bit, like, did Nico just not believe in him? And I don't think he did. I don't think he believed in him. And they made the move, and he feels like this is the best situation for him. And it'll be a trade that people will remember because people are just going to be like, all right, we'll see if this works. And the Lakers now get their franchise guy after LeBron. So they now know their future after LeBron James is Luka Doncic. And people wondered how that would impact LeBron. And it seems like LeBron is cool sticking around and going out there and playing with Luka whenever he gets healthy, because Luka's been out a lot this season. But that was obviously shocking. And I mean, this is obviously, if this doesn't work for Dallas, I mean, you would have to assume this is a chance that Nico could get fired over this, because you don't trade your franchise player away unless there is a really good reason why. And clearly he did not feel comfortable giving Luka the supermax, which now Luka's ineligible to get now too. So that man told you, I didn't want to give you the supermax. I didn't trust you. I don't believe in you. I don't believe you're good enough to get us over the hump, because I don't believe that you will do the necessary things to help us get over the hump. So now let's get into the Trae-Luka talk for a second. One thing I could say about it, we obviously, every star, I've always said, every star has things you don't like, but you put up with it because of what they can do. Because when the lights get bright, they show up. We know Trae Young takes bad shots. We know Trae Young sometimes can become turnover prone. We know sometimes he'll tease in the worst moments. Listen, we know all that. It annoys some of us. It annoys me at times. It happens. But we also know when the lights come big, Trae Young can get you that 30-10 performance. He can hit that game-winning shot. He can carry a team on his back. We know that. We've seen it. You can't deny it. We've seen it. And the one thing you never question with Trae is his commitment to the game. Trae Young is committed to this game. When he posts all those videos on his Twitter, he's always in the gym. He's always working out. Either with family, he's working out, he's in the gym. Committed to the game, committed to working hard, committed to improving, committed to try to be the best player he can be for the Atlanta Hawks. A man who, because of his size, he has some defensive limitations. But especially under Quinn, we've seen moments of him trying, defending, putting in work defensively, so he's not that big of a liability. He's put it, you see effort on film from him. You know, you don't question those things. And then even this comparison between Luka, there have been teammates, or there have been rumors and stories that teammates are not always fond of Luka and how he treats his teammates and how he is. Like, there are very much a lot of questions about Luka Doncic as a leader, as were with Trae. I feel like Luka was more vocal in terms of like his displeasure with things, with teammates, which can rub people the wrong way. Where Trae, we don't know publicly he has displeasure with certain teammates. We just try to assume through different means and different things. But even this offseason, he's taken a step, bringing Zach in, bringing Dyson in, working out with those guys, spending time with those guys. Clearly, Dallas said, our franchise player, we don't think he can grow enough in those areas to warrant giving him a supermax and allowing him to stay the face of the franchise. The Hawks have literally seen Trae grow in those areas. And even though the team isn't as good as Dallas, and if we want to go off that, that's fine. They're not. Dallas has done a much better job building that team out around Luka than the Hawks have done building it out around Trae. Even though I could see the vision that they're trying to go for. And that could be successful down the line if there's patience. But people have been saying Trae Young is going to be traded for years. People have put out narratives. There's been all these reports. Hawks are looking to get rid of Trae Young. They want Trae Young off the team. All it is, all that. And that man is still here. Man is still playing hard. Man is still committed to the grind. Nothing has changed. I don't see a man who you wanted to improve these areas of his game and just him as a player, as a leader, him work and put in effort to that, and then tell me that we want him off our team. Where Dallas looked at Luka and said, I don't think he's going to improve in these areas. So I don't know if I can trust him. And listen, I wouldn't have made the trade. So I'm not saying that was enough for me to move Luka off my squad. But clearly for Nico Harrison, he said that was enough for me. Right? And so the fact that Trae Young is still on the Mavericks, he's still on the Hawks. And people are going to put rumors that Trae Young might get moved for the deadline just because, they're going to say that. I won't believe it till I see it. But you basically showed that we have more belief in Trae Young than we do with Luka Doncic. Right? And so the Hawks did win the trade. They won the trade. I mean, people have been saying Trae was worse than Luka. He needs to go somewhere else. Yet, out of the two teams, Dallas gave up on Luka first. Hawks, as far as we know, still believe in Trae Young. And Trae Young, as far as we know, still believes in Atlanta. Still believes in Quinn. Even after the game tonight against the Pistons, he was like, believe in what Quinn's coaching, believe in what we're trying to do, and we'll be fine. He always talks, no matter what the team situation is, he's always like, it will be fine. We'll get through. We'll figure it out. We'll be better. He never says, doom and gloom. He's just like positive. Like, we will figure it out. I believe in what we're doing. And to hear him say that so much makes me think Trae Young isn't trying to get out of here. Because trust me, players give hints when they're unhappy. Trae Young has not done that. But yet we keep trying to assume he is because we just assume that's how he's going to feel. The big decision for Trae Young and this Hawks team will become this offseason. Because Trae Young could be a free agent next offseason. Hawks, looks like Trae Young probably won't make an All-NBA team. Probably. So he will probably not be eligible for the Supermax. So Hawks probably will know the number they can give Trae Young if they want to extend him. Obviously, how the season ends can impact that a lot. But clearly, that's something that could be in the works. And so, I think the Hawks are, people are going to compare these guys forever. At the end of the day, these two guys are great players, star players in the game. Like, that's the reason why I think the debate's stupid, because it's not like one player is a star and one player is a bum. Even though some people try to make it that. You have two star players in this game. Yeah, Luka may be the better overall player, but I can actually tell you that Trae's the more clutch player than him. I can tell you Trae's the better passer. Shoot, I mean, the way stuff looks, Trae Young might be the better defender. I mean, we can't say that he's not. So I'm like, Trae Young, man, Hawks won that trade now. And obviously we'll see how this relationship continues on. If it ends sooner, if it continues on. But I just want to get my thoughts on that. But lastly, before we go, guys, let's get into some of the trade rumors surrounding the Hawks. Apparently Hawks are in a Paul George sweepstakes, apparently that they've contacted the Sixers about maybe getting involved in that. Again, we know that Bogey and them are still, he's not playing, Clint's not playing. We're assuming that means they're going to move him, et cetera, et cetera. We've heard teams like the Suns, the Heat, the Spurs have showed interest in Bogey. Hawks have plenty of options. We've heard the Hawks potentially could be in multi-team deals. We've heard the Hawks could be in so many different things, right? We're hearing, KD now, Suns might listen to offers. Like I said, we've heard a lot. I think the Hawks will make moves. It seems like they're a little bit more aggressive for players. I always said the key to beginning of this process is, were they looking for picks or were they looking for players? Now, I think obviously they would like to pick up a pick, but I think they want players because they're trying to be competitive this year. And there's no incentive to tank without your draft picks. So I think the Hawks are in a position where they may have multiple routes they can go down. Obviously, your biggest trade pieces will be Bogey and Clint. Maybe Larry Nance, maybe another guy we haven't talked about. One name I've heard a lot from people they've been debating is trading DeAndre Hunter. And I've said this. If you're trying to be competitive, the thing is, again, if you're on the side of the Hawks should start over, you're going to say trade DeAndre Hunter. But if you're on the side of the Hawks should be competitive, again, unless Hunter is going in return for a star player, there is no reason to trade DeAndre Hunter if you're still trying to stay competitive this season. There isn't. I've always said with these trades, y'all want to trade these guys, but then it's like, okay, well, if you're trying to be competitive, unless you're getting a star player, you're getting worse. So, or you're getting a player that may be equal to him. Then it's just like you're the same. You just may be getting a lesser contract or something, which then is a contract dump. And then you're just going to be like, damn, we just made a contract dump, and that's it. The Hawks, I expect rumors to get more serious. I think as we get closer to the deadline, we will start to hear more trade constructions, like what could be involved in trades and with the Hawks and stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of teams reaching out to different teams, trying to add guys. And so I'm really curious to see what that looks like. I know people have already started projecting, well, what would I want from San Antonio? What would I want from Miami? What would I want from the Suns? What would I want from these teams? There's probably other teams that have also made contact with the Hawks that we don't even know about. If the Hawks have called the Sixers about Paul George, I'm sure Bogey's in that deal. like I said, we don't know if the Sixers are taking any serious offers from them or not. But it's going to be a heck of a whirlwind. Obviously, we'll keep up with it. I'll be at work when the trade deadline happens. So, hopefully, maybe something happens that day. Maybe the Hawks make a move tomorrow. The thing about the trade, you never know when something's going to happen. So it's a big wait and see approach. And I look forward to seeing what's about to happen moving forward with those guys. But I think that's about it today on the Believe in Hawks podcast, man. I appreciate you guys tuning in, man, for sure. If you enjoyed the episode, like I said, subscribe to the channel, like the video. Channel Bryce_2K. Twitter also is Bryce_2K if you want to follow me on there. Audio listeners, available any podcast platform. If you can't watch the video version, want to watch it on the road. Any podcast platform, you'll find Believe in Hawks. Like I said, Hawks snap the streak tonight. That's the big thing. They snap it. They don't have to say we've lost 9, 10, 11 games in a row. We have broken the streak. We have gotten over the top. We have beaten the Pistons. Trae Young, game winner. He has rose again. It got real cold in Detroit tonight. Got real cold in Detroit tonight. So, let's see what the Hawks can be out there. It's playing the Spurs, the debut of De'Aaron Fox. So, primetime game on ESPN. So, we will be seated. But we'll see if the Hawks can get some wins together. Like I said, only 2.5 games out of the 6th seed. This season is nowhere close to being over. Nowhere close. And you have some big games coming up against the Magic, who's kind of slumping a little bit. And those would be big for you down the stretch as well. So we'll see what happens, guys. But I appreciate you guys tuning in to Believe in Hawks podcast. It's your boy, Bryce Lewis. We'll see you next time.